Hey guys, Aaron Wilson here at KPRC2. The Texans move on from veteran safety CJ Gardner-Johnson, and while it surprised many with the timing, it was brewing behind the scenes. And I've been hearing for weeks about problems with the veteran safety and teammates and coaches. So going back to the Rams game, he was beaten for a touchdown, but he pointed the finger at teammates and would not take accountability. That was a pattern for Gardner-Johnson per sources, and a lot of talk of, in Philly, we did it this way, in Philly, we did it that way, instead of just adapting to his new environment. And while there was a honeymoon period for a while, it didn't take long for the honeymoon period to wear off and for Gardner-Johnson to show his true colors, which is, he can be a lot behind the scenes. It's just a matter of, is a team willing to tolerate drama, especially an 0-3 team? But it wasn't just the Rams play. It was one against the Buccaneers. And then it was happening again against the Jaguars. And this time, Texans coach DeMeco Ryans didn't really hold back. Without naming him, he made a comment. When you see a big play that happens on defense somewhere along the lines, there's a bust in communication. It all starts with communication, as crisp as it needs to be. So we have to play better on the defensive side. We got to communicate better. We got to execute the defense better. So he said it's not been great. We see that. We have to make some adjustments there to make sure we get it corrected. The correction, basically effectively firing CJ Gardner-Johnson. Some other tidbits about this, what I've been told. He had requested a trade or his release. He had bristled behind the scenes about his role, including the aforementioned wanting to blitz more. Well, it's the coaches that call those types of plays. Complaints about a teammate's contract. Really none of his business what the team chooses to pay someone else. And while he got along with the media and he was entertaining, the team are the ones that have to work with him. It's not about, does he give a good soundbite, or is he fun to listen to, or does he get anyone fired up? All those things are true. And is he talented? Can he hit hard? Can he intercept passes? Yes. Did he intercept any passes here? No, he did not. He had one quarterback hit. He didn't make a lot of plays. He had 15 tackles in 3 games. Once he got back from the knee injury, I think he had to shed some rust. And I thought he did play a little bit better as far as the second game they did in the opener against the Rams, where I thought he was having some problems moving well enough to really make big plays. But yeah, looking at what happened here, there was the Davis Allen touchdown, and there were others. So there were a lot of comparisons from him. No one really wants to hear that, hey, it's great in Philly. Yeah, everyone knows they won the Super Bowl. But how does that help the Texans? It's not like, he has the blueprint and the secret sauce. He's not the only reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I would say Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts have a lot to do with that offensive line, all those things. Other players on defense, Zach Bond, etc. So there was a lot of recurring tendencies with him. Ultimately, it's just simply too much for the Texans to tolerate, especially when you're not even won a game. So how do you put up with that when you haven't won a game and then you've got someone that's giving you problems? So that was kind of the thinking there with why they did this. And this was weeks in the making. And the team was ready to move on. And they were ready to move on not just now, but previously. There have been some rumors that are untrue about stuff from the locker room as far as like an altercation. That's not my information. That's someone else rumoring. That's not a media member, but I'm told that is not accurate. So believe what you want. But I'm telling you, I'm hearing right from the source that's not accurate. Not about a post-game altercation. Certainly friction, but not like a fight or something. So it was a tough deal, and you could see some of the body language from the players on the field, how they felt about the mistakes that were being made and the reactions to them. So, just causing all of these coverage breakdowns, this is how you lose football games. They're not that far away. They could easily have been 3-0. And these things, these unforced errors or attitude issues, that is a big problem. So look at the play with Brian Thomas Jr. 46 yards, they're in man, and you've got Kamari Lassiter is covering outside. Inside coverage, you've got Thomas. And when Gardner-Johnson didn't run with Thomas, Lassiter, who's behind him, had to take up for him and adjust to the coverage. And that led to the big play that set up the game-winning touchdown by Travis Etienne Jr. So, this just kept happening. Statistically, according to Next Gen Stats, 7 catches on 10 targets, 94 yards, could have been even higher, because sometimes they're not counting what really happened, which was that he's responsible for more yards and more scores. So the Texans have kind of a track record of this when a player steps outside of the team concept. D'Amico Ryans will apply discipline, and Nick Caserio will carry it out with a roster move. When Deontay Johnson was complaining openly, pouting in the locker room after they defeated the Los Angeles Chargers in a wild card game, his days were numbered. In fact, the very next day, they cut Deontay Johnson. So, this is something, there's a lot of solidarity between Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans, that you don't want cancers or potential cancers in the locker room. I think that they have some depth. So, kind of turning toward that. MJ Stewart will be the next man up. Jalen Reed will be ready soon and will be considered to be evaluated once he's healthy enough to return to play again. He had a mild knee sprain. And then Jimmy Ward, because everybody asked about Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward is still on the reserve physical and unable to perform list. He is off the commissioner's exempt, which is a good sign, but he still faces the lawsuit. Might they do time served and say, okay, that's enough? He's served a suspension, and he was obviously on paid leave with the commissioner's exempt list. Perhaps, but he's not quite ready, and he hasn't practiced yet. He needs some time. So I would say pump the brakes a little bit on thinking, well, Jimmy Ward, he's going to take over the job, or Jalen Reed. For now, it's very simple. It's MJ Stewart. And they have, from the practice squad, they have some depth there with old Green Goblin. They could call him up. Jalen Mills from the practice squad. So they've got options, but they have, some flexibility there on what they'll do. And, we'll get a lot more into the Titans and things like that coming up. But I get it. I think what, happened here is kind of what needed to happen. And I'm not saying that to cheerlead for the team or anything like that. You guys know me. That's not my thing, not my style. I report, and you guys can interpret it. But sometimes someone will do something that's just kind of out of pocket, and you have to make a decision. And I think that decision is logical. It's understood why they had to do it and that they needed to make this move at this time. So overall, looking at the decision, they cut ties with him. And, it's interesting because financially this isn't great. And I'll tell you why. So looking at, what happened here, they had recently restructured his contract and given him a $6.58 million signing bonus. And he had his base salary reduced to $1.17 million, and his salary cap figure went down from $9 million to $3.06 million. So it's good they restructured, and that helps them with their cap. But now there's acceleration, and they move on. As far as the injuries, we'll see if it's going to be Derek Stingley Jr., it's the oblique again, or are they going to have to go with Tremont Smith? I think we'll see if Sting is able to practice one of the next 2 days, but I would not be surprised if they had to play the Titans without him. I think they can beat the Titans without Derek Stingley Jr. I repeat, I think they can beat the Titans without Derek Stingley Jr. because I don't think the Titans are very good. As you guys saw earlier in the day, Brian Callahan, the Titans head coach, is giving up play calling duties and is abdicating that to quarterbacks coach Bo Hardigree, who was once an interim offense coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. So we'll see if that sparks them at all. They of course have Cam Ward, who's somewhat local, from the outskirts of Houston, and we'll see if that helps them at all to get their offense going in the right direction. But overall, when I look at the Titans, they're 0-3, but they're not even close to winning these games. It's a little different for the Texans, where at least they're in the ball game. A lot of one-score games here, and there's a chance that they could get better. The offense is in a real quandary. If you max protect, there's not enough receivers in the pattern for CJ Stroud to throw. If you go with 5-man protection, and then CJ Stroud is vulnerable. And you saw that again and again with Ariante Ursary, who had 3 penalties, 2 holdings, 1 face mask, bull rushed for a sack by Josh Hines-Allen, and then beat on a speed rush on the final play there where CJ Stroud the pass was tipped, intercepted, intended for Christian Kirk. You guys probably saw my interview with Christian Kirk and talked about patience and shedding rust. I think they were going to score there, but they couldn't pass protect it well enough. And that's a big key. They got to be able to protect it better. We'll see. I think Juice Scruggs is angling toward winning the left guard job. We'll see how this week goes. And guys, going a little further with where this leaves the Texans, I think that they're in a position where perhaps they can involve Christian Kirk more. It was 3 catches, 25 yards, 8 targets. Nico Collins, obviously a very successful day without the fumble. His first lost fumble of his career, his second fumble overall as an NFL player. So sure-handed guy, was trying to make a play. Unfortunately loses the football, and that could have changed the whole complexion of the game. But even to say that, games shouldn't always be close. If you're a really good football team, one with playoff aspirations, this high degree of difficulty, you can talk yourself into anything you want. You can say, oh, we're okay. The truth is, just being in these games, being close, that's not good enough. That's not what they were trying to do. They were trying to become a real contender beyond just the first round. And now, it's a fight to even get back to the playoffs or to even be a 500 team. There's a very real chance that they could be 1-4 at the bye week. They're going to play Baltimore. I know Baltimore's record hasn't been very good, but Baltimore's a very talented team with Lamar Jackson. Everyone saw how lopsided it was, the embarrassment on Christmas in terms of the Texans and NRG Stadium, just with the Ravens running roughshod all over them. That wasn't that long ago. The personnel isn't that much different. In some ways, maybe they're worse. They're worse at the offensive line. So, you trade a 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle, and it changes the equation. You don't have Joe Mixon, and he's out indefinitely, and it's not looking too good for Joe Mixon. Not hearing anything positive about that situation right now. Then you're going with Nick Chubb. You're going with Woody Marks. I think they're both good players, but who scares you if you're the other team? Nico Collins, on offense. CJ Stroud when he's on, but he's had, some accuracy lapses. He's had, I think, seen ghosts a few times because he's hit so much. There's not much they can do. The offensive line hasn't been very good. So CJ is doing his best out there, and I think he's got to continue to accept the limitations of these circumstances and make quick plays or throw it away or do something else or run with it. It is a tough situation, and Nick Caley is still learning on the job. Nick Caley's a smart guy. Nick Caley, maybe he will figure it out. Right now, yes, he's struggling, and you guys can see it, and you can hear it. You can hear it in his voice a little bit. He's doing his best, but he is definitely tough sledding, uphill fight. And then on defense, I would say the defensive tackle position, it's been mildly disappointing. Tommy Tugia did fill in well. Tim Settle Jr.'s had some moments, but we're not getting a lot from the other players. Sometimes Sheldon Rankins, not a ton from Mario Edwards Jr., Foley Fatukasi. The defensive ends played very well. Darrell Taylor was sidelined this past game with a hip injury. And then going over at linebacker, EJ Speed played very well. I thought EJ had an excellent game. In only 9 defensive snaps, was making an impact, and on special teams. We'll see if they choose to play him more, but it's tough. They really like Henry To'oTo'o, and Henry To'oTo'o makes a lot of big plays, but he has missed a lot of tackles this year. In the secondary, I think MJ Stewart will be steadier. He'll play the defense, and I would say just that the unpopularity of CJ Gardner-Johnson had become a problem with the other DBs. I have no idea what they'll say publicly. Maybe some guys will make some vague references to teamwork and things like that. But yeah, it was bad. And like I said at the start of this video, and it's the big story of the day, I think he really forced their hand where, from a behavioral standpoint, from a discipline standpoint, they need to make a move. And so that's why these things happen. There's usually a rationale. I would not expect necessarily like a big treatise from an explanation from D'Amico Ryans. He may just say, hey, football decision, we do what's in the best interest of the football team. He's going to have a whole 24 hours to think about what he's going to say, and I would not expect him to add any fuel to the fire. That's just my opinion of how he might handle media questions. Maybe he'll choose to be more forthcoming than that. That's up to him. He can do that if he wants to, but generally throwing a player under the bus after you fire him doesn't happen a ton in the NFL. They're going to be really upset with you to take that action. But This is free country. Last time I checked, it's free speech. People can say things, but sometimes there's reprisals. In the NFL, not so much. You can maybe not shoot from the hip, but you can be honest. We'll see how D'Amico chooses to go about answering those questions. Should be fascinating tomorrow. That is, of course, all in the afternoon. Practice starts at 12:45 Central. We'll be there to take attendance and to give you guys all the latest updates from practice. And they have a football game. It's not only about this behind-the-scenes thing. It's about how they go forward, try to win a game. Just win one game, and then you can try to win another one. But right now, the Texans are definitely in a mini early season crisis, and we'll see how they handle that. Guys, thanks so much for liking, watching, subscribing to the channel, Aaron Wilson Sport, and also following me on Twitter and X, Aaron Wilson _NFL, and at KPRC2, where I was on television tonight with Randy McElvoy, and at www.click2houston.com. All free content, got you covered. Please check it out, and I'm also on Instagram. I almost forgot to mention Aaron Wilson 7128. So guys, look forward to talking to you soon. Please drop your comments below. Talk soon. Bye.